It's a bitter pill to swallow.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Cincinnati, Ohio, he's an NWF Hall of Famer, the manager of champions, Professor Bitterman, Kirk Sheppard.
It's a bitter pill to swallow.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Bitter Pill. My name is Kirk Sheppard. Today, we're going to talk about boundaries and some other things. But I wanted to welcome you to the show. If you're new here, it is called The Bitter Pill because my wrestling nickname was Wes Bitterman or Bitterman backstage. And this podcast started as a hybrid of professional wrestling meets self-improvement. And so we've kept the Bitter Pill title and overlay, and we'll do a little wrestling stuff from time to time, as well as the mental health aspect of things. So one of the things we do on this podcast is talk about what we're looking forward to.
What are you looking forward to?
I am looking forward to this weekend. Tomorrow, as a matter of fact, on Saturday, October the 11th, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., I will be appearing at the Lousiville Book Festival in Louisville, Kentucky. If you are anywhere near Louisville, you should come over and say hello and buy a copy of my book, Soul Audit, which we're going to talk about a little bit further on the broadcast. It's absolutely free. Pop in, tons of authors, tons of books. Pick one up, buy one, support local authors. There's authors coming in from out of state. The new host of the Reading Rainbow is going to be there. It's going to be a good day. So we'll maybe see you there, hopefully, right? Another thing we do on this podcast is talk about what I've been enjoying.
Oh no, here it comes. It's a huge pop!
In pro wrestling terminology, a pop is a big crowd-pleasing cheer. And so my buddy, Carl the Machine Gun Anderson, who is a famous professional wrestler who has a Patreon where I started this show, he likes to say, "What's poppin'? What's poppin'?" And so what's poppin' for me right now is this brand new Matlock show. Now, I know it's been on for 2 seasons. I am completely way behind, as usual, with pop culture things, but I'm so far in the first season, about 3 or 4 episodes in, and I'm digging this show. So if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. You should check out Matlock. It's what's poppin'.
Oh no, here it comes. It's a huge pop!
It's the Bitter Book Club. It's the Bitter Book Club. Book Club.
All right. Time for the main event. The Bitter Book Club. Don't forget that coming up November 11th, my book, Broken Stools, will be available, my new book. But right now we're talking about my other book, my book, Soul Audit. And we're going through chapter by chapter. If you've read it, great. This is a good compliment to what you've read. If you haven't read it, I hope that I'm explaining the concepts enough that you don't even need to benefit from the content. So we're talking about boundaries today and relational alignment. Just a very quick recap. The book is all about aligning the soul meaning self, and all the different domains that we can do that in. So boundaries are really where alignment begins relationally. They're not barriers, they provide clarity. So people sometimes, I've had come into my office, I'm a therapist if you don't know that, and they'll say to me things like, well, my aunt says there are no boundaries in this family. And I instantly cringe because what she's saying basically is, I'm not allowing you to shut me out or tell me I'm wrong or do things I don't want to do, make me do things I don't want to do because I'm going to run roughshod over you. Saying there's no boundaries in this family are a bully's way of maintaining power. Because bullies thrive on the lack of clarity and changing the rules and maintaining their power through deception, persuasion, manipulation. But if you set up clear boundaries, those aren't barriers to the relationship. They clarify the nature of it. Because without those boundaries, relationships can slide into control, confusion, or collapse. So boundaries define where you end and others begin. It's important to have some autonomy, no matter who you are. And you get to decide how much autonomy you want in a relationship. Boundaries also keep kindness from turning into self erasure. What do I mean by that? So, I know a lot of people who give and give and give and give to the point where they're now empty and they aren't getting back, because when you give and give and give, you just taught people to expect that you'll give and give and give, and they don't have to give back. So you're erasing yourself by not having good boundaries and good self care. Boundaries also allow us to be honest without being hostile. If you set a boundary early in a relationship and the expectations are clear, and then people know what to expect and what you'll tolerate, they know how to treat you. But if you wait until you're angry, till your boundaries get crossed, then you're likely to be hostile. So the bottom line
Cause that's the bottom line.
is that boundaries create the space where real connection can grow. Misalignment is what happens when you manage everyone's emotions but your own. You take care of everybody else around you, but you don't set limits or insist that you also get your needs met. Misalignment happens when you say yes if you mean no, because you feel obligated, or what if I hurt their feelings, or I don't want to let them down. Misalignment is when you notice that you leave conversations feeling smaller. We don't have boundaries in this family is a great way to make somebody feel guilty for setting a limit, as if you don't love us and you feel smaller. But boundaries are so important. It's not peacekeeping to not set a boundary, it's self abandonment. To let people just run roughshod over you is not healthy. Boundaries aren't about control, they are all about choice. And they move relationships from compliance to consent, obligation to intention, and from performance to presence. One of the terms in therapy language that I've tried to eliminate from my vocabulary is the idea that a patient or a client is non compliant. We used to write that in our notes to explain why somebody wasn't getting better. But that insinuated that we had power over them, that they had to do what we said, because if they didn't do what we told them, they weren't being compliant. But what if what we thought was best for them wasn't what they thought was best for them? Why not actually build from compliance to an idea of consent? What would you like to do to try to improve your situation? Right? If you set a boundary and somebody tries to take advantage of you, you get to choose whether that boundary moves, stays, and is firmer, is less firm. You get to choose that. That's the consent you're giving. Instead of doing things out of obligation, you do things because you want to. I'm never going to help you move. You can ask me to help you pack. You can ask me to load up a truck. I'm never going to do it. I'm going to tell you no. I will offer to come and sit with you while you pack. I might do some things if I can sit. I might offer to throw a couple bucks into your moving fund or buy the pizza for your movers. But a boundary I have is that I'm not doing manual labor. I'm just not good at it. I don't enjoy it, and I'm not doing it. But I'll help you. And then for my intention, the things I do for people comes from a place of love and a place of consent, and it's intentional. Sometimes we end up showing up for people and we perform and we're exhausted. But if you're able to show up and just be present, that's less draining. So relational alignment means that you understand that relationships that you have that are healthy are the ones that reflect your real self. Do you have somebody in your life who drains you, or that you find yourself dreading their call, feeling like, "Oh, I love them and I have to hang out with them because, oh, we've just had this long history, but I really don't enjoy the time"? That's a relational misalignment. If you're aligned relationally, you don't shrink or fit. You don't shrink to fit. or you don't inflate to impress. You just get to be authentically you in that relationship and show up as you. And that's respected and welcomed. You show up whole when you're aligned. Now, boundaries are on a spectrum. All kinds of fences, as I like to say. Barbed wire electric fences, nice picket fences, the kind of decorative fence that you could put your whole body through. Lots of other kinds of boundaries. If you're too rigid, you might become more disconnected. You might be seen as a jerk. Sometimes people see you as a jerk because of the boundaries you've set, and that's okay. Let them think that. Remember the Let Them Theory book? Let them think that. But there are times when maybe your boundaries are too rigid. I remember a time when I was a brand new therapist, and I was sitting in the office, and a client came in to meet with the therapist who was working. I was actually the office manager. I wasn't even a therapist yet. And this client came in to meet with the therapist who was working there and said, "Oh, so and so, another client, said that you were really good, or they said to say hello, or something like that." And immediately that therapist went, "I can't talk about other clients." The boundary that she set was appropriate. Oh, that's nice. I can't discuss other clients, of course, but that's very thoughtful. That's appropriate. But she went, "Ugh," and was very rigid. And I think immediately from the get go of that relationship with that couple, that client she was seeing, was immediately disconnected. Now, if you're too flexible, though, you're like a doormat. You disappear. You're not respected. So the balance is when you have a healthy, clear, compassionate boundary. And that's when you're aligned. When you can say, in that example, "Oh, that's nice. Thank you so much." Um, and maybe even leave it at that in that scenario. But you could also say, I appreciate that. Just so you know, we're not going to talk about other clients here. I'm not going to talk to them about you and you about them, but I really appreciate that. Thank you. Right? You just be polite, pleasant, and do the healthy thing. Talk a lot about vulnerability. Vulnerability is when you are open, a sharing of yourself, willing to be seen. I often say that I could be very vulnerable if I were to walk through the worst part of Cincinnati at 3 in the morning naked with a box of money in my hands. But that would be very foolish. So, vulnerability, which I think is the secret to connection, is a healthy thing. Vulnerability without boundaries is dangerous. It's reckless. Boundaries without vulnerability, though, are walls. If we aren't willing to discuss, talk about why the boundary sets with certain people, it's a balancing act for sure. But if we work together with vulnerability and boundaries, you'll find safety, honesty, and mutual respect tends to be the goal. Some people say, well, boundaries are selfish. Let's talk about what selfish really means. Selfishness is when you think only I matter. Self-love is that I matter too. So it's okay for you to prioritize your needs. If you don't put your needs first, how could you ever meet the needs of other people? If you're empty, you can't pour into others. Boundaries are self-love in practice. It's I care about myself enough to say no to you, which doesn't mean I don't love you. It doesn't mean I don't want to help you. It just means that in this particular situation, I'm choosing to take care of myself. Here's the big reveal. When you start to say no, some people fade away, some people push back, and the right ones adapt. When I have usually it's an older woman and come into my office who's been giving and giving and giving all of her life, and she says, "I'm just so exhausted, so tired," and she doesn't know why. And we start to examine the lack of boundaries in her life. And I say, well, we're going to start learning how to set those, and they're probably going to be barbed wire electric fence boundaries at first, and it's going to be tough, and people are going to push back. Absolutely, people walk away from those relationships because they're no longer being given what they were just getting for free. Some people push back and say things like, "There's no boundaries in this family," or "I can't believe you're treating me like this." But the right ones, the people who are healthy and who will love you and who really want to maintain that relationship, will learn that the new you is a healthier version of you, and they respect that and they stay. And those are your true friends. Because boundaries clarify for you who are safe. So in the soul audit, when we take a look at ourselves, this week I want you to ask yourself, any of these things true? Do you manage others' emotions at your own expense? Do you stay quiet to keep the peace? Or are you learning to express your needs without feeling guilt? I know where I shrink to fit others. Are you paying attention to that? Because the soul audit, of course, is a flashlight shining to give us awareness. Do you know who you are and what you're doing? And then we work into the action phase, right? So it's awareness and practice. And from the audit to the action, we're going to start saying things like, let me check it, get back to you. Instead of just saying yes. Let me check and get back to you. Checking with who? Doesn't matter. You're just going to take a beat to think about whether or not you want to do this. Because the automatic yes has got you in trouble. Let a text sit and wait. It's okay if somebody is impatient. They can be impatient. You can let them sit there and wait. I think you need to express a need sometimes. Hey, do you want to go get drinks tonight? You know what? I actually need a quiet night at home. But let's make plans another time. And then also asking for help on purpose. A lot of times people who have a boundary problem don't feel like they can ask for help. And reaching out and saying, you know what, I could really use a hand. Or I really could do you have 5 minutes for me to work this out verbally with you? Or whatever you might need. These small acts of self-love shift relationships in a big way to an aligned state that brings you into alignment overall. Here's the takeaway. Boundaries are where relational alignment starts. Boundaries allow us to clarify, set the limits, and expose those people in our lives who might need to go. They turn niceness into truth. No one is expecting you to be, no one, well, people might expect it. I don't think the expectation should ever be that we're to be nice. We're to be honest, we're to be kind, we're to be healthy. But nice is polite and compliant, and we let run over when we're nice. And finally, boundaries turn obligation into choice, connection into something real. Oh, that's it. They turn niceness into truth, obligation into choice, and connection into something real. Yeah, that's it. That's what we're going to do with boundaries and relational alignment. If you want some coaching around this, please reach out to me at kirkthecounselor.com, kirksheppard.com. Buy a copy of Soul Audit. Comment somewhere where you see this posted. Just get a hold of me. And if you want some specific coaching, we can evaluate how helpful I can be, talk about pricing and that sort of thing. Or we can get you referred to a therapist who can help you if you need that too. Next time, we're going to talk about presence. We're going to talk about chapter 5 of Soul Audit if you're reading along. And we're going to talk about what it's like to be present and aligned in that way. Looking forward to that. So that's the Bitter Book Club for the week. That's Soul Audit, chapter 4. Don't be a jerk and also don't be a doormat. And I hope that was helpful to you. Next week we'll be back, and I'll see you Saturday, maybe, if you want to stop by the Kentucky International Convention Center for the Lousiville Book Festival. Otherwise, for me, Kirk Sheppard, this yet has been another bitter pill to swallow.
It's a bitter pill to swallow.
The Bitter Pill with Kirk Sheppard is part of the Talk and Shop media empire. The preceding video was produced as educational and entertainment content only. Kirk Sheppard is a licensed mental health therapist. However, the material on this broadcast should not be considered clinical or representative of his professional work in that context.
It's a bitter pill to swallow.
Professor Bitterman is a fictional character and may not reflect his actual views and opinions. For more content from Kirk Sheppard, go to kirksheppard.com. Follow him on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe to his Substack and YouTube channels.
Please subscribe to the Talk and Shop podcast on YouTube for more content from the Good Brothers.